Jaime. In today's discussion, we are going to talk about how to improve your communication, how to become a better speaker. Now, I'm not an expert. I am working on improving that myself, and I just want to share some of the things that I have been learning along the way, not only with my experience, but just in the recent years and the recent months, following other speakers and learning more from other people that are trying to grow in their professional setting. Now, one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I'm sure you have noticed it but never really focused on it, is organize your thoughts before you speak. Now, doing that will allow you to remove any rambling that might happen, because now you're trying to fill the space with random words. Now, they might go with the story or your speech, but they are unnecessary words that don't make you sound as knowledgeable in the topic that you're discussing, which sometimes can take away from the power or the confidence that you're trying to convey during your speech or whatever lesson you're trying to communicate. Now, one of the biggest things that I learned early on in my leadership training and in school that is not as easy, especially if you're not confident in the topic you're speaking on, or if you're just nervous, is to take away the filler words like like, or anything that you're using consistently or constantly, because you're trying to fill that space so there's no awkward silence, basically. Now, once you remove those, it's okay to fill those gaps with silence. It allows the listener to focus on what you're saying without really hanging on those filler words. Now, some people might not pick up on them, or maybe they do it all the time themselves, so they're not going to acknowledge it. But when you're speaking to individuals who don't use those filler words and understand and know the power of those pauses, they might not judge you or judge what you're saying. But if you're using those in an interview, or if you're teaching a lesson, that can take away from the performance or the outcome that you want to convey. Use positive language, such as saying, "Thank you for your patience," instead of, "Sorry, this is late." So it is okay to state something that you might have missed, or in this instance, stating that you're delaying their time or situation, but you're not putting yourself in a negative light. When you apologize, it takes away from the confidence of the conversation and from yourself as an individual. You want to avoid casual language or slang, such as "gonna" or "I don't know." Anything that you might use around your friends, anything you might use in your spare time, any type of language that is not going to make you sound professional is, I would say, frowned upon. Definitely in meetings and group settings, in any environment where you're trying to convey a message or a lesson, or teaching somebody how to perform a task. That is definitely an area that you want to avoid using that type of language. You want to practice active listening. Now, practice active listening. Active listening means that you're going to take in what the other speaker or the other individual or individuals have stated or have spoke on, and you're going to analyze, assess, and respond to those comments or to that speech. For instance, one of my biggest things, one of the things that I do when I'm speaking to somebody below me or an associate or somebody that's giving me information, I look at them, I acknowledge what they're saying, I will reply with a quick snippet, a piece of information that they gave me to show them that I'm listening. It will almost sound like you're repeating exactly what they're telling you, but that will let them know that you are actively listening. Now, if you repeat something, or I should say, if you summarize something and you repeat it back to them and they tell you that's not what I said, that will give a good indication that either you missed something or they don't like the fact that you're summarizing, because it'll take away from what they're trying to tell you. It might be a complaint, it might be an issue that they're reporting, it just might be a response to a question that you asked them. You want to make sure that you're not just openly asking questions without engaging and just moving through the conversation. One of the biggest ways to have a good interview when you're the one giving an interview is to follow up with statements or more questions based on the answer that they gave you. If you just move on without acknowledging what they said, it will make the individual that you're interviewing withdraw or push extra words and filler words that are unnecessary because they feel like they're losing that interview. In my opinion, if you want to make the interview process more comfortable for you and the person you're interviewing, making it smoother and allowing both of you to feel comfortable at the end of the conversation is by engaging. The more you engage, the more the interview flows smoothly. Even if you're not going to select that individual, at least there was a positive interaction and something that you can be remembered by. And typically those type of interactions are the reason why people keep going back to apply to those positions, even if they weren't hired on the first or second try. I've interviewed individuals at certain positions that have told me that they have applied several times and they will still want to keep applying because it's a place that they want to work at, but they've had nothing but positive experiences during those interviews. I've also heard of individuals applying at my companies or companies I work for that give me horror stories about their interactions during interview process and just to generalize at the beginning of their new positions that make them want to leave that company immediately. Another big piece to remember to try to do in regular communication or speeches, but definitely interviews is definitely helpful there. But again, in speeches is to use inclusive language. So using the term folks instead of guys, that allows individuals to feel more included in how you're communicating and relate to the group that you're referring to. One of the biggest things that helped me, especially when I went back to school because of my online school, was to speak in front of a computer or my phone to record the answers to the sessions or the conversations that we're having based on the lessons that we have for that week. Now, because I was recording everything, I was able to play it back before I posted the conversation or the response to that lesson. It allowed me to see my facial expressions. I could hear if I was using too many filler words. The more filler words I had made me realize that I wasn't confident in what I was saying. So at that point, I would stop, look at my notes, reread what I was trying to communicate, or have notes in front of me so that I could pick up and continue without feeling lost. Sometimes individuals like to speed through a speech or conversation because they don't want to have that gap or that pause, because they feel like they will forget what they're trying to say next. So they will speed through their entire conversation, and I am guilty of that as well. And I would say having notes or being more prepared can help you avoid having those awkward gaps and not having too many rushed filler words or unnecessary words to fill that gap to make it sound like you're just, vomiting a whole speech without having a break. It all goes back to allowing individuals that are listening to you to take in what you're saying. Speaking a couple sentences at a time, pausing, and then continuing allows them to connect to what you're saying. then it also allows them to want to hear the next part of the conversation. Obviously, if you wait too long, like that, then you're kind of left thinking, okay, did they get lost, or what's going on? Why did they stop for that long? And some people might not consciously be thinking that, but subconsciously they're going to be aware of those extended pauses. The right amount of gaps or pauses in your speech or between sentences will and can help you have a more impactful speech, lesson, or regular conversation communication that you're having with another individual. I believe those tips and tricks, they help you better when it's in large group sessions or in front of groups. It could be at work, it could be with your employees, it could be with family members. It definitely works one-on-one, but with one-on-one engagement with peers, with friends and family, it's easy to bounce off conversations or communication back and forth. Maybe no awkward pauses, maybe too much communication, but it's an enjoyable situation, and you're not really thinking about any of those professional type of settings or things that will make you look bad or sound bad. But in situations where you're trying to convey a point, teach somebody something, or just communicate information out to large amounts of people, it will come in handy. If you think that helps anybody that you know, if it helps you, I'd appreciate a like, a share, a comment. Let me know what you've done to improve your speech. Let me know if you're currently going to school and if you're discussing this, if it's helping you in your school. If this helps you in any way, I would love a comment and a share. Thank you guys very much for following. I will catch you guys on the next talk.